In the last section, we saw that the npm install command failed to run because the package.json file was not found, and we spoke about why that was. In this section, we're going to figure out how we can make sure that the package.json file is available before npm install is executed inside of the container. To do so, we're going to add one little instruction to our Docker file. This is going to be an instruction that we've not used before. It's the copy instruction. And as you might guess, the copy instruction is used to move files and folders from our local file system on your machine to the file system inside of that temporary container that is created during the build process. The overall syntax for this is copy, then a path to the folder on your local file system, and then the path that you want to copy that stuff to inside the container. Right now, I'm showing these commands with a /, which means the current working directory. Now, one little technicality here, the path from our folder, the first argument right here, is relative to the build context. And you'll recall that I had said that the build context is the dot right here when we execute docker build at the terminal. So build right here means simple web directory, or the current working directory. So we have set the current build context to be simple web. So then inside the copy command right here, when I say /, that means the build context, which is simple web. I know that's a little bit confusing. It's essentially kind of like two layers of indirection. Again, we're going to see a better example of why we would alter this build context stuff in the future when we start working on some more complicated projects. For right now, all we really need to know is that if we add this right here to our Docker file, we're going to copy everything from our current working directory into the container. And that's pretty much it. So let's flip over to our Docker file, and we're going to add in this instruction and then try to rebuild our image. Now, we definitely want to make sure that the package.json file is available before we run npm install. So I'm going to add in the new instruction right above that. So I'll say copy // Again, everything from the current working directory of simple web to the current working directory inside the container. All right, so I'm going to save this, and then we're going to try to run the docker build command again over at our terminal. So I'm going to flip back over, and I'll do docker build dot. We'll run that. Now, between the last section and this one, I removed my Alpine image, or the Node Alpine image, so I had to re-download it. But after that, we should see the copy step. There it is right there. We'll then see npm install. Now, you will notice a couple of little warnings. The warnings are totally fine. If you see a notice and then 3 warnings in a row, that's totally fine, no issue. So we've now successfully installed all of our npm dependencies. And then if we keep on scrolling down, we'll eventually see at the bottom that we have correctly generated this new image. And this is the ID of the new image. Now, remember, it's not really nice to work with IDs all the time. Let's try running the docker build command again, but this time we're going to tag the image. So I'll say docker build -t, then my Docker ID, and then the name of this project, which we are calling Simple Web. And then I'm going to make sure that I pass in the build context on the very end. You'll notice I did not put on the :latest to the tag right there. It's because, remember, the :latest tag is automatically appended if you don't specify it in here. Now, one thing I just want to remind you about, please don't forget the dot on the very end. And once you've got that all on there, we'll hit enter to rebuild it. And now we have tagged that newly built image as your Docker ID /simpleweb. So now last thing we're going to do is try to start out that image and get the Node server running. So I'll do a docker run Stephen Grider /simpleweb. All right, so I very quickly see that the node index.js command was issued through the npm start command. I then see that the server is correctly listening on port 8080. So I think that we're ready to open up a web browser and test this thing out. So I'm going to flip on over to my browser. And to visit that running application, we should be able to go to localhost :8080. But once I do, I get a nasty little error message that says this site can't be reached. Well, we definitely got our image built and we are running a container out of it, but we still are not able to actually visit this port or see the web application running. So let's take a quick pause right here and we'll continue in the next section and figure out what is going wrong.